Good afternoon and welcome to the October 29th meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority. Roll call, please.
Authority members: Friedman. Here. Mincy.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Barazian. Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chair Sinanian.
Here. May we have the report, please?
The agenda for the October 29, 2013 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, October 24, 2013 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
And what is next?
Next item is approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
Hearing no objections, the minutes are approved as submitted. Next, please.
Next item is oral communication. Mr. Chair, no cards were submitted.
Okay, all communications are now closed. What's next?
Authority member staff comments.
Yes, Mr.
Mr. Chair, if we may, I'd like to bring up our Deputy Director for Housing, Mr. Peter Zovak, to talk about a recent recognition given to Glendale by the State of California on our BEGIN program. Peter?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the Housing Authority, community development staff wanted to make actually 3 announcements related to the Doran Gardens project. As you know, Doran Gardens is the Housing Authority's largest home ownership project that's ever been developed. It's a highly leveraged project in terms of utilizing multiple funding sources to make the project feasible. It's a well-designed project that includes new construction, a new park, and housing preservation. We're pleased to announce that since completion of the project in July of 2012, we have sold and escrowed 55 of the 57 affordable housing units. We have just 2 affordable units left. It's one one-bedroom unit and one 2-bedroom unit. Interested applicants can still apply to the project, and they could apply at the developer's website, heritagehousingpartners.org, and then under the Doran Gardens project. The project was conceived and developed during uncertain economic and real estate times, if you remember, and the successful sale of these units are significant. In order to accomplish those sales, we estimate that both Heritage Housing Partners and housing staff had to process probably a 10-to-1 ratio, so essentially 600 applications had to be reviewed and processed in order to get down to those 55, eventually 57 home buyers. That was a incredible task that both Heritage Housing Partners and staff was able to accomplish. The second announcement relates to what the city manager had stated. A recent audit of the Doran Gardens project was conducted by the state of California. If you recall, and I mentioned a highly leveraged project, the city was able to apply and receive $5.2 million in BEGIN money from the state of California. That is Building Equity and Growth in Neighborhoods money. It was used as down payment assistance for the buyers. We recently had our audit with the state of California, and they came back and gave the city of Glendale a perfect score on the audit. They went as far as mentioning that the city of Glendale was only one of 2 cities to receive this perfect score. And as a result, they don't plan on coming back in the near future. These 2 noteworthy achievements are the result of a lot of hard work by housing staff, and I'd like to recognize them. We have Ann Bockenkamp, Mike Fortney, Veronica Lunn, and Pam Jackson. In addition to those in the housing office processing so many RFDs, so many contracts required the work of other departments and some of our coworkers in those departments, and I'd like to recognize them as well. Gloria Melendez, Yvette Nukian, Tamar Haji-Munukian, Christine Maldonado, Helen Ross, and John Toktalian. And then finally, I just wanted to mention, as I said, we have 55 happy homeowners in this project. They all have their individual stories about what the homeownership at Doran Gardens means to them. We did receive one homeowner's correspondence of what it means to them, and I'd just like to recite a few excerpts, if I could, from the letter. Really, it talks about the true purpose of the first-time homebuyer program and explains to us why it means so much to this particular family. And after a brief introduction, and I won't name the family or their unit address, after a brief introduction, the homeowner states, "So I did want to share with you something about my wife and myself. I grew up in Texas, and then my family made its way to Nebraska. This was not a glamorous move, but one that changed my life. The harsh winters of Nebraska are forever seared in my memory, especially the winter of 1988. That is the winter that my family found ourselves without a home. We were homeless for almost 6 months and had to live by the grace of other people. Basements, cramped rooms, shared beds were the experience we all had to endure. When my mother, who never stopped fighting tooth and nail to get us a home, was able to secure a residence for us, it was in the worst neighborhood of North Omaha. There, we endured the realities of living in a blighted neighborhood. Gang violence was prevalent, drug use was out in the open, and we begrudgingly had to accept the reality that anything of value we secured in our home would surely be stolen within the month. Life was hard, and in those moments as a 12-year-old boy, it is hard to believe that there are better days ahead. When something like homelessness happens, two things transpire. You become bitter and mean, basically mad at the world, or worse than that, you stop believing that home ownership is something that you'll ever be a part of. Sadly, I fell into the latter category, partly because of apathy, which is not uncommon. As a young person, you develop certain coping skills, and mine was the skill of not caring if I ever owned a home, and partly out of fear. Fear is the really crippling one. You see, once a sheriff shows up to your home and locks you out with all of your belongings still inside, it changes you fundamentally. You stop believing in longevity or permanence, and quite frankly, you stop believing in the idea of ownership. It becomes safer to never put roots down, to never put yourself in position of having a home and possibly losing a home. This was my attitude for much of my adult life until three very important things happened. He goes on to mention two very personal things, and then third and finally, it was discovering Dorn Gardens and the Heritage Housing Project. Almost instantly, the idea of home ownership became possible. Believe me when I tell you that I had given up on the idea of owning a home, living in Glendale, a community I love, but sadly could not foresee owning a home in unless our finances changed drastically. Dorn Gardens changed that. We are humbled, we are overwhelmed, and we are grateful. I am grateful. Because of the way in which all of you extended yourself, my family is going to be in a new home, our home, the first house I can call my own since I was a 12-year-old boy in Omaha. Your cumulative faith and generosity has healed me. It has made me a better husband, a better father, and a better man.
Thank you, Mr. Zovak.
Can I get a copy of that, redacting what you don't want out there?
How old is the author?
The author now is an adult. He's a special ed teacher.
88, 20, in his 30s.
I assume in the 30s, yes. Not sure, but there. And if there are no questions, then?
Good, Peter. One question, you and your all staff, are you all looking for pay increases because of that report?
I'm sorry?
Pay raises, are you all looking at? You know what I said the first time. Don't look at him.
They're just happy to be here, sir. Hope they can contribute to the team, and good Lord willing, we're going to make the playoffs.
Mr. Chairman, though, on a serious note, this would
Didn't
not
even move on that.
this would not have been a reality but for really the patience and the willingness of the Housing Authority to get into something that was pretty complicated. And in fact, this was the first housing project where new market tax credits were used. This took a long time. We had to partner with the city of Pasadena in over a 7-year period. Patience clearly won out, and that's the reward.
And all we did was tell you to go do it. You're the ones that deserve all the credit.
And I should say that it did receive an APA award as well. The project did, so it's well recognized in the LA County area for creative finance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zovak, and keep up the good work. Any more comments or questions?
I'll move, we adjourn.
Second.
And we are adjourned as of 3:18 p.m.